What is going down? Sourdough Squad, wake up. It's Victory Monday. Let's go. You already know what we're going to talk about today. We've got a full docket of topics to go over. The Brock Purdy experience, Jimmy Garoppolo injury, Baker Mayfield, is he going to be a future Niner? Defensive Player of the Year, Micah Parsons or Nick Bosa. We're going to talk about it all right now. But you already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat. Let's vibe. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. I may or may not be eating during this Victory Monday episode. And I'm sorry in advance if that is the case, because I tried to go all day yesterday without eating. Didn't perform. It wasn't the best for me yesterday. I called Josh Johnson Josh Norman. I blame that solely on not eating enough food. So I may be eating throughout this episode. I apologize. In fact, I apologize to no one. I'm hungry. So you already know the vibes. It's Victory Monday. I hope you all are having a fantastic day after the San Francisco 49ers beat the brakes off the Dolphins. I mean, it was a close game for a large portion of that game, but the floodgates really opened down the stretch there. And, whether it was the defense, offense, all that type of stuff. I got food in my teeth. Maybe taking a bite during the intro and trying to eat it as fast as I could was a bad idea. But it's not. We're going to keep rolling anyways. You already know the vibes. This, I can already tell, this is going to be a phenomenal show today. The vibes, the energy is lit. Woo! What a day. Yeah. Yep, 100%. But again, shout out to all the SDS, man. I appreciate you guys. Oh, whoa, woo. All right, let's get this back on track. We're off the rails already. We're not even 5 minutes in. Let's get this back on track. The San Francisco 49ers get the dub, but of course, at what cost? Now, I'll say this. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a team suffer two season-ending injuries to their quarterback position. Like, first of all, how rare is it to legitimately have two starting caliber quarterbacks on your roster? It doesn't happen. You typically got your starter and you got your cost-effective backup who's either a veteran, journeyman, or a young guy. Teams really don't have two starting caliber quarterbacks. The 49ers did in Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. Here we are looking at week 14 in the future, and the 49ers have lost both starting quarterbacks to ankle/foot injuries for the season. And that's just crazy to think about. We understand injuries are part of the game. It's going to happen. It's a war of attrition out there. But the fact that the San Francisco 49ers had two starting caliber quarterbacks and both of them got hurt for the year, it's just crazy, man. But I think initially, I'll say this. I can only speak for myself. I don't know how you guys are feeling. We'll pull the chat here in a second to kind of get a vibe for how you guys are feeling today. I would say in years past, I would feel more doom and gloom. I would say, the 49 first of all, you lose your starter, then you lose your second string. It's over. There's no hope. Without a quarterback, you know, that has proven that he can win in this league, well, what is there left? I think that's how I would have felt, let's say 2018. That's exactly how I felt in 2018 when Jimmy went down. Um, you had CJ Beathard, you had Nick Mullins. I was like, there's no chance in hell. Like the 2018 season was chalked from week 3 on. And you could feel that. I like after that Chiefs game where Jimmy Garoppolo tore his ACL, and it just felt like there's no hope. Even though they had, a former third round draft pick in CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins, we didn't know what he was yet. But this time feels a little different for me personally. I don't know if one, it's because I'm absolutely desensitized to 49ers injuries at this point. Could be. That I've been covering this team, since 2017, and the amount of injuries that I've had to talk about or post about since 2017 has been staggering. So it could be a little bit of just me being desensitized to it, but I do have some faith in this team to kind of keep pushing forward. And, as you guys know, I was at the game last night. I was there at Levi's Stadium watching everything unfold. And Brock Purdy looked pretty good. Like I can't lie, and that's not even, just trying to be optimistic for the sake of being optimistic. Like when you watch Brock Purdy, and I just started getting into the tape, so I still have to kind of back up the initial feelings and thoughts that I had of watching Brock Purdy last night in person to kind of the tape. But I see a guy who calm, cool, collected. He has the ability to he has zip, he has accuracy. He doesn't play like a rookie. So I look at it like this. The San Francisco 49ers have a loaded roster. They're built on the backs of their defense. They have a quality offensive line, good enough offensive line. They can perform better, but they have good enough offensive line. They have good enough weapons around Brock Purdy that I think it's not ideal, right? It's not ideal, but I feel a sense of everything's going to be okay. Obviously, the 49ers right now, we have, as a fan base, we have Super Bowl aspirations. We want the 49ers to go all the way, deep run into the playoffs, and not just a deep run because we were knocking on the door of the Super Bowl last year. I know we all, I think, would agree that the 49ers should have been in the Super Bowl last year. And if they would have played the Bengals, there's a good shot they're winning that Super Bowl as well. So I know that leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But I do think that the 49ers have a shot. I really do. Like, I don't feel that sense of like, all right, it's over. You can't even play for a draft pick, right? Like the 49ers don't have a first round draft pick next year. They can't even play for draft position. They don't have a second round draft pick next year. So that's out of the question. The 49ers have Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy played a phenomenal game last night. And I don't think it's a one-off. Oh, this is interesting. Corey, where did you see this? Corey says, interesting. Kawakami said his sources say door hasn't been fully closed on bringing Lance back. Uh, where did that come from? I'm looking at his Twitter right now. But we talked about this last night, I believe. It's a lot easier to say Lance isn't gonna come back than to open up the potential, like, he could come back. Hold on, I'm trying to see if I see anything else. They keep saying no. I don't know. I'll look into it a little bit later. I know he posted an article, so I'll look into it later and we'll talk about it more. Um, but we'll find out. Obviously, I think if Jimmy Garoppolo is playing at a high level, there's no need for Trey Lance to really come back, especially if he's healthy. And you know how the media can get with, really pitting these two guys against each other could create more distractions than anything else. But if there's a potential shot at Trey Lance getting healthy down the stretch and could come back, then of course you always going to keep that door open. But like I said, I think it's easier to set the expectation that he's not going to come back with the hopes he could come back, opposed to kind of flipping it vice versa. So we'll continue to monitor that situation. Um, and also too, since we're talking about, what the plan is going to be moving forward. It's Brock Purdy right now, the San Francisco 40. We were literally, I was still in the stadium. I did the live from the stadium yesterday. While we were doing the live, I didn't even get out of Santa Clara. The San Francisco 49ers had already signed quarterback Josh Johnson from the Denver Broncos practice squad and added him to the 53-man roster. So today, it's been heavily reported, and the 49ers have been heavily linked to quarterback Baker Mayfield. You guys know Baker Mayfield. The 49ers played against him week 5, right? So we saw him up close and personal against the San Francisco 49ers. That was the game that the San Francisco 49ers basically obliterated uh the Panthers. They fired their coach. They fired their coaches after that. They made a quarterback change. Like, it was all kinds of crazy stuff. So Ian Rappaport not only went on the Pat McAfee show, he also went on NFL Network to say that he believes that because of the opening, obviously, due to the injury to Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield had asked for his release in hopes of potentially getting claimed by the San Francisco 49ers. Also, Ian Rappaport talked about how he thinks that could actually happen, where the 49ers could put in a claim. They're 24th in the waiver in the waiver order. Um, it would only take on a hit about a million of and a half in regards to what his contract is still worth. So Rappaport believed that it's a potential that he could, but of course he'd have to make it past 24 other teams to land on the San Francisco 49ers. So let's do this. Let's pull our chat for the first time today. If Baker Mayfield makes it all the way to 24th, no other team puts in a claim for him, would you take him? And I'll say it like this. I think the 49ers move forward with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has done enough. He's been in the system. So he would potentially come in as a backup or, in case of emergency, break the Baker Mayfield glass. I want to see what you guys have to say. So drop it in the chat. Baker Mayfield claimed by the San Francisco 49ers to come in and be the backup to Brock Purdy. I want to see what you guys have to say because I think this one is going to be interesting. I've seen the comments so far on some of my other posts, and it's definitely been a polarizing topic, as you would imagine it would. And while you guys are getting your answers in, I'll talk about kind of the way I'm viewing it. Now, again, I have a lot of faith in Josh Johnson. I like Josh Johnson. I know Josh Johnson. I've paid attention to a lot of his career. He's been on the San Francisco. This will be the fourth time he's been on the San Francisco 49ers. He's been with Kyle Shanahan multiple times at multiple stops. I think Josh Johnson is a capable backup, good veteran. I like the signing. I think it makes sense. And I do like what Brock Purdy offers. I think Brock Purdy can definitely be the starting quarterback for the 49ers, and the 49ers can still go decently far. So the question becomes, do they feel comfortable enough to bring in Baker Mayfield? Now, this is going to be a fascinating situation because what is the risk reward here? The risk is you rock with Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson. Brock Purdy gets hurt. Then you're left with Josh Johnson and Jacob Eason. Or you don't trade anything. You just have to pay a little bit of money and you pick up the former number 1 overall pick and you add them to the quarterback room of Brock Purdy, Josh Johnson, and it's Baker Mayfield. Would you feel more comfortable in that regard? Would you sleep better at night? And this is my situation. I think in Madden, like if this was Madden and you could just plug and play players onto a roster, kind of like plugging them into a spreadsheet, yeah, it probably makes some sense. Probably does. But it's not like Madden. Personalities matter, and Nick Bosa does not like Baker Mayfield. Uh, a lot of the defense doesn't like Baker Mayfield. So it's going to be fascinating to see what the San Francisco 49ers do. It's one of those situations where I can understand all ranges of outcomes. If they add him, I will understand why they added him. If they don't add him, I understand why they didn't add him. I understand both things. But let's go to the chat and see what we're talking about. So far, right off the bat, it looks like it is a heavy no. Oh, we got our first yes. It's a yes, comma, no question. No, no, no. Lots of no's. Lots of no's. Oh, we even got a hell no from Jesse. Hell no from Charlene. Hell no. We got a yeah, I'd take him. I don't want him, but I just know Kyle will sign him. That's kind of like I could definitely understand just rocking with Brock. Rock out with your I'm not going to finish it. But you know what I mean. Like I'm down. I'm down to ride with Brock Purdy. But when you're tasked with putting together a roster that will survive a very physical sport and a daunting schedule, do they maybe push some of the personality things to the side and just see what happens? As for potential insurance, this is going to be the fascinating situation. Um, Honestly, this is what I think. There's a little bit of a insider that is going to have a lot to do with the potential. I think if the 49ers do place a claim, I think one thing that I do believe is that I think the 49ers will discuss. They talked about their leadership group, the veterans. I think they will, like, on something like this where they don't have to be secretive about it. I do think they will ask them and just kind of be like, what is your guys' thoughts? Could you see us adding this guy to the locker room? What do you think the impact of the locker room would be? Blah, 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 blah. So I do think they will kind of lean on some of their players for their thoughts. And interestingly enough, guess who played with Baker Mayfield this year? Guess who was a teammate of Baker Mayfield? Guess who went through training camp? Guess who got the break speed off of him from the 49ers alongside Baker Mayfield? And that's Christian McCaffrey. So I went and double checked. Christian McCaffrey is still following Baker Mayfield on Instagram. I know we live in that social media type of environment, right? Where, well, a follow is an endorsement, right? So I went and looked. McCaffrey's following good old Baker Mayfield. Didn't hit that unfollow button. So that could mean absolutely nothing, but hey, it's something. And so I would imagine Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch pop on over to Christian McCaffrey's locker and say, you know what? What do you think about Baker? What kind of teammate was he? Was he an a-hole like it's all been made out to seem? Or do you think he could fit into this locker room? And I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have some interesting input into the situation. So we'll see. Corey says Rams are going to take Baker. They absolutely could. They absolutely could. Uh, just to one because they need a quarterback with Matthew Stafford's injuries, and also don't let your division opponent get a potential quarterback because it's clearly uh, already being heavily discussed as the 49ers. I think they're also the betting favorites to add Baker Mayfield. So what I think and what the 49ers do, I think are two different things. So, like I said, I would be fine with Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson moving forward, and that's it. We move on and we go chase this championship. But I can also put myself in the front office's shoes and understand that at this point, you've lost two quarterbacks for the year, and you might potentially want any insurance policies that you can come across. And if they think Baker Mayfield's that, maybe we'll see. But I agree. It's Glock Purdy season, 100%. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about Baker Mayfield. It seems like the majority don't want Baker Mayfield, and I understand that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the 49ers ultimately do. I'm very comfortable moving forward with good old uh, Brock Purdy moving forward. Uh, I think Brock Purdy's got some juice. You know, as Nick Bosa said, he's got that dog in him. So I'm very comfortable moving forward with that. that situation. But again, we're gonna find out what ultimately is going to come from that situation. So yesterday you had Nick Bosa talking about Brock Purdy. Again, everyone who's came out and talked about Brock Purdy from the 49er side of things had good things to say. Nick Bosa said, I saw him in preseason and it looked like he had that dog in him. So it's going to be interesting, man. I like it. I love the story. I'm a sucker for underdog stories, things like that. Uh, again, why you don't give up and things and you persevere. And I think Brock Purdy definitely has that opportunity in front of him. Um, he played really well last night. Let's see. I could probably even pull up something. This was the touchdown pass to CMC. A nice little Texas route out of the backfield. One of the things with, again, Brock Purdy, he's accurate. He is accurate. Like there was multiple occasions where there's pressure bearing down on him. He got the ball out. Uh, he put it in the correct spot. He fit the ball in between defenders, whether it was to Debo Samuel, whatever. Brock Purdy proved that he deserves to be the starter until otherwise proven that maybe he can't. But as of right now, I think Brock Purdy is definitely deserves a shot at keeping this job for the rest of the year. I don't think there's much question about it. Ego says Purdy season, keep the ball rolling. So I know we talked about Baker Mayfield. Let's switch gears. Let's pull the chat here. Are we rocking with Brock Purdy for the rest of the year? Drop it in the chat. Is it Brock Purdy season for the rest of 2022? Brock till we die. Brock and roll, baby. Is that what we're doing? Are we riding the Brock Purdy hype train? I mean, and this is coming from a fan base that is divided down the center when it comes to quarterback. Are you in the Jimmy Garoppolo camp? Are you in the Trey Lance camp? I think Brock Purdy might actually be the guy to reunify the San Francisco 49ers fan base. Could you absolutely imagine that? Mr. Irrelevant comes in and is the glue that brings the San Francisco 49ers fan base back together. No more arguing about Trey. No more arguing about Jimmy Garoppolo. None of this, none of that. Just rally behind Brock Purdy and we Brock and roll into the playoffs. I think that could happen. And you can see in the chat is lit. 100%. I haven't seen one person say no yet to Brock Purdy other than Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is just mad that we probably scraped his Dolphins. Ha. All right, coach. Coach is coming out of left field. He says completely unrelated, but I can't stay the whole live. Everyone wanted Aziz to play over Dre. Everyone. I'll take my bow now. Dirty Purdy till the end. Hey, shout out Dre Greenlaw, man. He is having a phenomenal year. And shout out coach as always. But back to the Brock Purdy conversation. We'll get to Dre in a little bit. But 100% it's Brock Purdy. It's Brock Purdy time, baby. I'm excited, man. I'm really, really excited about it. And the beautiful thing is ideally Brock Purdy's only going to get better. He's only going to continue to improve and feel more comfortable and continue to develop within the scheme and be able to see the field more clearly. His timing's going to develop better. Kyle's gonna have a better feeling. I mean, Kyle's talked about it all year. He said he's never been more excited about a third string quarterback than what he's had with Brock Purdy. So we got to see it with all the chips on the line. Brock Purdy came out and he did his thing and he performed at an extremely high level. So I'm here to ride with Brock. I think Brock Purdy gives the San Francisco 49ers the best chance of winning moving forward, and I don't think there's much question about it. I think it's pretty cut and dry that Brock Purdy is that guy. All right. So you take away the first play of the game from Tua Tagovailoa that had the 75-yard passing touchdown to Trent Sherfield. Brock and Tua have pretty similar stats. Both quarterbacks have 2 touchdowns. Both again, if you take away that 75-yard touchdown, which you can't do that, but let's just say for sake of argument, like when you really look at Tua too, it was those he had the 2 big plays, the huge touchdown to Tyreek Hill in the third quarter and Trent Sherfield. Other than that, Tua was pretty bottled up for the most part. And that's where his 2 touchdowns came. So, in comparison, Brock Purdy goes 25 of 37 for 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Tua threw 2 interceptions for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 18 of 33. So, oh yeah, and then Skylar Thompson came in and all he did was throw an interception. So, you know what? I think Brock I and you all see it. Like it has some of those what is it? Nick Mullins vibes, the BDN when Nick came in. And I was there for that game too. So that's some interesting context. I was at Levi's Stadium Thursday night football. It was 2018 49ers versus the Raiders. And not Brock Purdy, Nick Mullins comes in and dices up the Raiders. And then we had a little bit of that Nick Mullins fever. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like the way that Brock Purdy won this game was more impressive than what Nick Mullins did on that Thursday night football game. Stop going to games. I'm a jinx. Well, if we want to start if we want to start breaking it down, I was at Levi's week 2 when Trey Lance broke his ankle, and of course, I was there last night when Jimmy did that as well. But to be fair, I was at the Rams game, I was at the Chiefs game, I was at the Chargers game, and I was at the New Orleans game. Nothing crazy happened during those games. I love to take credit. I would, but I don't think it's me. And I agree with this. Purdy just seems different. Again, those intangible things that you can't quantify. You can't put your finger on, but they got it. You don't know exactly what it is, but it is it. And he's got it. So again, kind of wrap up my whole thought process here. Like, yes, it's terrible that Jimmy went down. Jimmy was playing at a very high level, best of his career, and we really did have strong Super Bowl hopes. But I do think the Super Bowl aspirations take a small hit, but not that big of a hit. Really, not that big of a hit. I don't know if you guys remember going back to our training camp coverage, but when I talked about Brock Purdy, I call my name for Brock Purdy is Mini Jimmy. He looks like a smaller Jimmy Garoppolo. They move very similar. Their kind of movements are similar. Their quick throwing motion, kind of similar. It's Mini Jimmy. It's what I was calling him in training camp. Same vibe. So as long as Brock Purdy can play within the structure of the offense and not make turnovers, that's really what it comes down to. If he can play turnover-free ball, the 49ers have a shot. They have a shot. It's a lot to ask, right? It's a lot to ask, but on the flip side of it, we're talking about a guy who started 4 years in college. And we talk about this a lot with Trey Lance. Oh, he only started 13 games and this, that, and the other thing. Well, this is where the flip side of that plays into, some benefit. The fact that he started 4 years at Iowa State, he brought that franchise, or he brought that school to relevance in some regard to what they did as a football team. I think that means something. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of learning that goes on there that you can't replicate. So I'm pretty excited about it. I think Brock Purdy is going to be all right. I think we're good. You even had Garrison Hurst chiming in. Garrison Hurst, 49ers legend, commented this on I think one of my other pages or one of my other posts about Brock Purdy, and he says he played with that dog in him. Respect his gangster. Go 49ers. And let's face it, Garrison Hurst played with a lot of good football players. So Garrison Hurst sees it. And, Garrison Hurst has followed me for a while. He comments and engages with the page quite a bit. He doesn't say stuff like this. So this isn't like, this is Garrison Hurst just being a cheerleader. He doesn't go out of his way to just he's never made a comment like this. where he's like, he's got that dog, literally respect this gangster. Like, come on, that's Garrison Hurst, 49ers legend. He doesn't talk like that. Like, he'll comment on stuff, but he doesn't comment like that. So we're not the only ones that are seeing it. We're not the only ones, I promise you. So, this was the touchdown to Kyle Juszczyk. Again, this was a well schemed open type of play. You got to give. We've talked a lot about Brock Purdy today. Got to tip our cap to Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan had a game today, or Kyle Shanahan had a day, especially considering the circumstances. So we got to tip our cap to Kyle. Again, this was a scheme open touchdown from Kyle. I'll give Kyle credit for this. Like, Brock just had to get the ball there. This is like an extension of the run game, essentially. This was schemed up by Kyle. It was up to all Brock had to do was deliver. But Kyle was in his bag. Kyle did a really good job. So we'll shout out Kyle. For sure. This was the Texas route. We already saw the Texas route. But hey, that boy got that dog in him. He got that dog in him. I could literally talk. I feel like I would talk about Brock Purdy this whole time. But let's flip to the other side of the football. Let's talk about Mr. Nick Bosa. Also, too, everyone gather up. Someone might have to let me know, but I need everyone in this live to do me a solid really quickly. Listen closely. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Let's go. It's Victory Monday. If you haven't smashed that like button, what the hell are you doing? All right. That was it. I had to try to make you think we had something going on. But no, I just wanted you to hit that like button. That's it. Just smash the like button. Do us a solid. It's Victory Monday. There should be a minimum requirement that Victory Monday lives get at least 150 likes. Come on. But now let's talk about what we want to talk about. Nick Bosa balling. 3 sacks. And one of them was a forced fumble strip sack that turned into a scoop and score by Dre Greenlaw. Oh, we got we got Cowboys fans in the chat? I hope we do. I would love it if we had Cowboys fans in the chat because just read the caption. Albert Breer says, might be Nick Bosa versus Micah Parsons for Defensive Player of the Year now. And my caption states, whispers, it's Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is the Defensive Player of the Year. And there's no debate. I'm sorry. Yes, I'll give respect to Micah Parsons. Like Micah Parsons is a great player. He's a great athlete. And they use him in a way that is phenomenal. They use him all over the place. He's a good player and he is deserving to be in the conversation. But I'm sorry. It's destiny. It's written in the stars that Nick Bosa is going to be Defensive Player of the Year. I called my shot at the beginning of the year. I said not only is he going to be Defensive Player of the Year, but they're going to talk about him, at least talk about him in the MVP. They haven't got quite there yet. The national media, for whatever it is, they don't talk about Nick Bosa a whole lot. They just don't. And they're being forced to talk about him now. They're like, well, maybe Nick Bosa is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Like, what? Where have you been? This is not new. This shouldn't be news to anyone that Nick Bosa is him. We shouldn't have to question this. Salvador says all 3 sacks on third downs, I believe. Closer. 100%. Go back to Nick Bosa's sack against the New Orleans Saints. The one sack that he had came in crunch time. Go back to the sack that he had against Arizona, crunch time. Go back to the sack he had against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, crunch time. When it mattered most, Nick Bosa shows up and gets sacks. Not only that, but he's done this without Javon Kinlaw, without Eric Armstead. Samson Ebukam has been in and out of the roster. Like we have a lot of depth. We've got a lot of talent on that defensive line, but you could see what happens when Eric Armstead comes back. And you put Eric Armstead on the interior of that defensive line. One of those sacks was because of Eric Armstead. It was a late developing stunt. Eric Armstead absolutely just demolishes the offensive line. Nick Bosa loops around and gets the sack. Nick Bosa now leads the NFL with 14 and a half sacks, and he's done that without Eric Armstead for the majority of the year. He has done that with, Charles Omeni, who's definitely been a respectable player. He's been playing lights out. Samson Ebukam's had an on and off year. He's been dealing with injuries. He's played well at times, for sure. But a lot of attention goes to Nick Bosa. A lot of attention gives to Nick Bosa. And he's got to fight through holds. I gotta go look for it. I saw there was a blatant hold that I captured, uh, on film, and they didn't call it, and I could see it from 100 yards away. It happens all the time. But, shout out to the entire defense as a whole, right? Because we gotta talk about Fred Warner. Fred Warner's balling out. Fred Warner has just absolutely turned it up. He is playing lights out. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, like I know we like coach talked about. We did a lot of talk. Like I'm a big fan of Aziz. Um, something tells me that coach was also potentially referencing a good friend of mine. I won't name any names. Um, based on some of the conversations I've seen them go back and forth on. But I I believe it's safe to say you can agree, you can disagree. I don't really care. But I do believe that Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are the best linebacking duo in the league right now. I mean, I'm a big Aziz guy. Big fan of Aziz. What Aziz did last year, he played phenomenally. But this year, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner together have been lights out. Dre Greenlaw is arguably the fastest sideline to sideline linebacker in the NFL, and he's playing next to Fred Warner, who's arguably the fastest sideline to sideline linebacker in the NFL. I got this awesome video of Dre Greenlaw chasing down Tyreek Hill. I know you know who Tyreek Hill is. Chasing down Tyreek Hill and then goes to body slam him and then puts him down. But then as he's putting him down, is just like, you know, I could have just absolutely demolished you, right? Like right here, he could have just, and he just did it to be like, yeah, I had to let you know. I'm not going to get the penalty here, as we've talked about in the past with how he goes a little too far, plays through the whistle a little bit too much, and will draw some silly penalties. Well, this is a moment where he showed it all. He showed the speed, he showed the physicality, and he showed the restraint. And he showed the mental mind games that are with the game within the game. To pick up a guy like Tyreek Hill knew he could have got slammed right there. And Dre Greenlaw just let him know. Just let you know. I could have just ended you, but I didn't. I didn't because it's team first, and I want to protect my team and not give up a penalty. I could have murdered you. I could have ended you. I could have dropped you on your spine. Controlled aggression right there from Dre Greenlaw, playing phenomenally. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that as well. Lisa said, "Did you see Greenlaw keeping Hill's mouthpiece as a trophy?" LOL, epic. Trey is having a phenomenal season. And again, I am someone who's was very high on Aziz as well, but you can't discredit how well Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. Dre Greenlaw led the team in tackles. He's probably led the team in tackles like 80% of the games this year. Dre Greenlaw leads the team in tackles yet again, playing phenomenally. He's everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. And it's a lot of fun to watch, man. It really is. Uh, we got and again, we're talking about the defense too. I didn't get a good angle of it, but shout out to Amador. Or no, this is Jimmy. This Jimmy Ward interception was sick. I got a great view of it, how Jimmy Ward basically just went straight up into the air to go get that pick. Let's see who was causing the pressure on this. Tua was getting tackled. Look at that. Okay, we talk about Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead created this sack. Look closely. Look at Tua. Tua's falling away. This is a desperation throw. Look at why he's falling. It's hard to see this in real time. Honestly, the first time I'm like really getting a good look at it. That's Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead is the reason why that's an interception. So again, they have missed Eric so much. And you can see his impact. His impact doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And that's okay because the 49ers internally, they know what that impact is. His defense, they know what Eric Armstead's impact is. It might not show up. Let's see, what's Eric's stat sheet for the day? You want to know what Eric's stat sheet today is, or for the game? Eric had 0 tackles, 0 assisted tackles, 0 sacks, 0 interceptions. Eric Armstead didn't register anything on the stat sheet, but we've already seen that Eric Armstead was absolutely one of the main reasons why Nick Bosa got one of his sacks, because it was a beautiful stunt and it wouldn't have happened without Eric Armstead. And this interception, shout out Jimmy Ward for making a great play on the ball to get it. But look at who's creating the pressure. Look at who's forcing the throw. It's Eric Armstead. So Eric Armstead deserves a lot of credit, and he was definitely missed in this game. But the defense continues to play lights out. I saw, what did Joshua say? Joshua said, Mike, oh no, not this one. We also got to give credit to Kyle for the 2 good challenges. Beautiful. Like also too, that one Mike Gesicki one where I got the ruling on camera. I don't know if you guys can hear this. Let me... Oh, hold on. I gotta pull it up. So this was the challenge that he won. Listen to the crowd go crazy. Like the whole stadium went nuts when Kyle won this challenge. It was the second challenge he had won of the day. And, in real time, like from where I was, I couldn't tell. It looked like Gesicki caught it. Like it looked like he caught it from my vantage point. It was, Gesicki caught it right about here. And, I had a pretty good view of it, but I couldn't tell from where I was. And it was a great challenge. And he won both of them, and they were big challenges. And I think this would have been a first down, and it set up a 4th down, if I'm not mistaken. And it had a big impact, definitely a big impact on the game. This was another one of the game ender, where we had the Dre Greenlaw scoop and score for a touchdown, basically on Nick Bosa's strip sack. So again, we started off talking a lot about, and so this play too, we're going to tip our cap to Charles Omenihu, because Charles Omenihu forced the timing of the play to be off by getting Tua to step up into the pocket. So because Omenihu was able to get enough interior pressure, it forced Tua up into the pocket to try to reset and throw. Look, reset, and was just enough time for Nick Bosa. So again, Nick Bosa is going to show up on the stat sheet, but without guys like Eric Armstead, Charles Omenihu, like there's a lot of contributing forces to the success that these guys are having. At what point do we mistakenly give our head coach credit for winning this season with what is now his third string quarterback? It's okay to give him credit. I know we all think he's just an OC, but he isn't. We've given him credit. We definitely given him credit. Um, for sure. I don't I know there is a portion of the fan base that tries to fire him any chance they get. But at least over here, we've given him credit. Um, but overall, man, it was a great win. And the 49ers, it's weird to say, after losing Jimmy Garoppolo, after losing your second starter of the year, uh how you can beat a team like the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins are good. They're one of the better teams in the NFL right now. And Kyle Shanahan, D'Amico Ryans leading this group with a third string quarterback beat Tua, who many were pretty dang close, if not already putting in the MVP conversation. They're playing well. Tyreek Hill is was the leading number one wide receiver in regards to yards heading into this game. They were doing well. And so gotta give a lot of credit to everyone involved. The resiliency, the ability to withstand adversity. That's the biggest thing that this team right now, like you go back and you look at the core of this team, let's look at some of the core players who have been here since I would say 2017, 2018. We could throw 2019 into that mix as well. But if we cut it off at 2019 and we're talking about core guys, you're talking about Debo Samuel, you're talking about Kyle Juszczyk, you're talking about George Kittle, you're talking about Greenlaw, Jimmy Ward, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. You're talking about Eric Armstead. You're talking about this core group of guys that have been this close to the mountaintop of getting a Super Bowl, who were there in 2020 when they were absolutely decimated by injuries. They've withstood so much adversity up until this point that I do believe that there is some callous here. Like, yes, it's terrible to lose Trey Lance. It's terrible to lose Jimmy Garoppolo. But let's face it, it's not the first time. There is some callous here. And I do think it's going to pay off in the long run. And if Brock Purdy can just do his job and facilitate, which he's shown he can, I don't see why this team still isn't a Super Bowl team. I don't think, it may waver a little bit, but in regards to how they're being coached, how they're being led, and the core players that they have right now, this feels like a team that can still go all the way. I mean, what better Cinderella story do you need than good old Mr. Irrelevant in his rookie season putting not putting the team on his back, because let's face it, there's so many players, so many weapons here, but just playing well enough to be able to get these guys where we want to be. So I'm pretty excited about that. Uh, Lil Heater says, "Bang, bang, Brock and the Niner gang." That's all. Shout out Lil Heater. It's one of the goated nicknames too. What movie was that from? I know exactly where I know exactly, but the name is just escaping me. But it's a great movie. Isn't it like oh no. Wait, no, it's not a movie, it's a show, I think. Uh it's a show, right? And it's like he gets a tattoo and instead of Heather, it's Heater. I I think, pretty sure. Feel free to fact check me in the chat. So we look at the win against the Dolphins. The San Francisco 49ers are 8-4. They're first in the NFC West. They're a game and a half ahead of the Seattle Seahawks. Uh, how do you feel? I've told you how I feel. I feel confident. I feel good. I still feel like the championship. I still see you call it whatever you want, but I still see that sixth ring as the ultimate goal. I'm not. I don't think that the goal changes here. What do you guys think? Do you still believe that this team is is still pushing for a championship, or do you believe that those aspirations need to be adjusted and they need to be walked back and there needs to be some careful kind of milestones that need to be adjusted? I'm interested. Jesse says, "Hell no, it don't change." Let him know, Jesse. Shout out wifey too. Uh, Brian says, "I liked Purdy. He's a lot better than expected, and if Jimmy can rely on the run game and defense, I have faith in Purdy." Patabo says, "Yes, and I'll always hope." Cheyenne says, "It was and is a Super Bowl or bust season. Preach." James says, "Both." Oh, done. So 187 says he's putting the fork in the 49ers and they're done. One playoff win. If they're lucky, we have a chance. And see, that's the beauty. If Brock can be a game manager and not lose games, then it doesn't change. And that's what the beauty of this is that Kyle's scheme doesn't solely rely on the quarterback. It relies on getting the ball into the weapons that are still surrounding Brock Purdy. So, does it change a whole lot? As long as Brock Purdy can be accurate, on time, and see the field, and with what he's been able to show, I don't see why it should change a whole lot. He can still get the ball into the weapons of Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk gets a touchdown. I can agree with this. The goal doesn't change. It's just going to be a little harder uphill battle, of course. You're going to have some ebbs and flows with the rookie. It's not all going to be perfect. Amanda says most definitely experienced quarterback don't win all ball games. Come on. The Niners are solid as they come. Bang bang Niner gang. So, I do think they're going to have an opportunity to keep this thing rolling. This is an interesting question. Um, Brad, what are the chances Danny's Gray scoring touchdowns with Brock Purdy at the helm? Well, I would say this. I would say those two have a lot of work together. I imagine, you have Fred Warner talking about how Brock Purdy's been going up against the best defense for the entire year. He's been going up against the best defense probably with Danny Gray. So they have some familiarity together and probably a lot more than Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that's been one of the biggest things with Danny Gray and like why people I think are upset that Danny Gray hasn't performed. And I've even seen people call him a bust and things like that. I'm just like, I don't know how you could call him a bust yet. You haven't even seen what he can do. But the big thing is Jimmy Garoppolo had 0 training camp with Danny Gray. Um, they had to, like, build their rapport on the fly, and then, I just don't think they've had a whole lot of reps together, but Brock Purdy and Danny Gray have absolutely had a lot. So, that's an interesting take. I do think we could actually see Danny Gray be potentially a little bit more involved. This may be Kyle's best coaching job getting this team to the playoffs. Another team couldn't make it with quarterback 2, let alone quarterback 3. Making the playoffs is the bar now. After that, nobody wants to play us. Absolutely not. The 49ers are the most dangerous team in the NFL right now. They are the most dangerous team in the entire league, and it all starts with that defense. But of course, if Kyle Shanahan can keep the wheels on the tracks moving forward in regards to the offense, then absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, and, Kyle's been not only that too, right? But you also have to give credit to Kyle for not allowing the $2 million that they paid Nate Sudfeld to sway them. I'll give Kyle 2 major props here because I do think Kyle has a lot to do with the final roster. Um, Kyle said, "You know what? We drafted Trey Sermon in the 3rd round. We traded up to get Trey Sermon. Jordan Mason's better. So we're going to keep Jordan Mason on the roster. We're going to try to do whatever we can to trade Trey Sermon. Okay, nothing materializes. All right. We're keeping Jordan Mason. We're cutting Trey Sermon." Then they signed Nate Sudfeld, guaranteed $2 million. That's a decent amount of. That's the one thing that we heard all offseason, right? Like, oh well, they paid Nate Sudfeld a lot of money to be the backup quarterback, so he's guaranteed to be the backup quarterback. No, they felt that Brock Purdy played well enough that they didn't want to put him on the open market, potentially allow him to get snagged by someone else, and they cut Nate Sudfeld. So, shout out. Those are hard roster moves to make. When you've invested into guys, you've put your reputation on the line for where you've taken them, and you just, you know what? You cut ties because the other guys are playing better. So, I think the way Brock's playing combined with Kyle Shanahan, they're going to get a lot of credit if they can continue to win these football games. Only negative yesterday was they didn't let Mason tote it enough, in my opinion. But hey, we saved him to show that hand when we need it. Yeah, I was wondering why they were being so shy with Jordan Mason out there. At one point, uh, he still ended up with 8 carries for 51 yards at 6.4 a clip. Like, they could have played him more. They definitely could have played him more. They ran Christian McCaffrey up the middle on some tough runs that you could have just give that one to Jordan. Give it to JP. Let JP ball. 100. For sure, for sure. Uh let's see, Lenore Jenkins. Lenore's been playing well. Brad, what do we have to do to get this W this week coming up? Well, it's going to turn to Bucks week here pretty soon with, Tom Brady coming in. They have a lot of good pieces on that team, but the 49ers are just playing better right now. So we'll do it. We'll definitely preview this matchup. I think the defense again is going to have to show out. The Bucks offensive line is a little bit leaky. They've had some injuries on that offensive line front. So the biggest thing to neutralize their offense is to get a lot of pressure and win in the trenches for sure. Yeah, that we would have finally got our Tom versus Jimmy. We got Tom versus Jimmy. No, did we get Tom versus Jimmy in 2020? I think we did. I think so. I don't know. But was that the Cam year? That was the Cam year? I think you might be right. That was before Mac, but yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah, it didn't seem right. Didn't sound right coming out. But now we got Brock, who's 22, and Tom Brady, who's been in the league for 22 years. So it's going to be a wild matchup. And if Brock Purdy can come away with a W against Tom Brady, you already know the legend is going to grow exponentially. And I'm ready for it. If Brock Purdy can galvanize this fan base, let's go. I'll take it. If Brock Purdy can get no one loves anyone more than the backup quarterback, and if we can get that with Brock, I'm all for it. I think it's going to be fun, man. I still got a lot of optimism for this season. I really do. You look at the remaining schedule, you got Bucks, Seahawks, Commanders, Raiders, and the Cardinals. Really, if you're focused on the playoffs, the 49ers would be the 3 seed if the playoffs started today. You've obviously got to beat the Bucks, and you got to beat the Seattle Seahawks, and you've got to beat the Cardinals. But if you just really want to focus on the 49ers getting to the playoffs, you just got to beat Seattle and the Cardinals, and you're guaranteed to in. So I'm really excited, man. So season ain't over. That's all I'm going to say. The season ain't over. Again, the 49ers proved that to us by trading what they traded for Christian McCaffrey. They understand that they have a great shot this year. And again, I know Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, but mini Jimmy's right there. So if we can get some mini Jimmy action, why not? Why not? We've seen crazier storylines in the NFL, and this is just going to be another one. I just peeped this. The San Francisco 49ers defense held the Dolphins to only 33 rushing yards. That's crazy. They held the Dolphins to 33 rushing yards. Man, this defense is special. Gosh, I don't want to play the what if game because we're not in that business, right? We're not in the business of playing what ifs. Because you could say what if with Trey, you could say what if with Jimmy, but he's always been one of the most underrated players. But if the 49ers had Emmanuel Mosley out here, this defense would be insane. Like, I do feel like the defense, it's been elite and it's been great. And they're still one of the best. They're still the top ranked defense in the NFL. But if Emmanuel Mosley was playing opposite of Charvarius Ward, woo, that would be crazy. He was playing so well. Let's see. So, and if you take, yeah. So, looking forward to it. I don't think we're done yet. And it's just going to make the 49ers that much more of an underdog. It's the 49ers are in this weird spot, right? Like, they're an underdog now because they've got their third string quarterback, but they have so many weapons. They have such a good defense. They've got good coaching. Are they an underdog? It's a wild dynamic moving forward. So I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a good time. And we're going to see everything and how it comes to fruition. But let's see, what's today? Obviously, today's Monday, Victory Monday. I've been having a good time. I'm over here cooking on Instagram and all that good stuff. As you already know, we're going to keep posting. We're going to keep doing all that stuff. And so keep an eye out for the content. Appreciate everyone, as always, for tapping in on this Victory Monday. Make sure what did we get? Did we even get to 100 likes? Do we even get to 100 likes on this episode of Victory Monday? Oh, we did. Should be 150, but I'll let it slide because we haven't been pressing you guys too hard. So, all good. But feel free to smash that like button on your way out. Grab your cookies on your way out. All that good stuff. We'll be back tomorrow with some film breakdowns. I'm going to do the tape tonight. Finish getting through that. I'm trying to get through offense. Try to get through defense too. That's hours of film study, but I'll do my best. Because I definitely want to watch both offense and defense, and how they performed. They performed at a really good high level for both sides. So definitely looking forward to it. And again, as always, appreciate you guys. I'm out of here for today. Happy Victory Monday to you. And we will soon turn the page to the Bucks. I'm out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see